I think we're all set and ready to go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your patience as we kind of settled into our last logistical details. And welcome. I'm Dean Ashby Kinch. I'm the Dean of the Graduate School. If I haven't met you, good to meet you and good to see you. Many of you will know my predecessor, Carrie Moorhead, who served as Dean of the Graduate School and was really instrumental in getting 3MT rolling and moving and maintaining its momentum. I happen to know she is online right now, and I'm thanking her at the top because I also happen to know it's her birthday. So on three, happy birthday, Carrie. 1, 2, 3. And I think she might not be with us at the very end, so I wanted to get that in at the top. Thank you very much for being here. As a new dean, I'm especially grateful. Come on in, those of you who are waiting. I'm especially grateful to be able to participate in 3MT. It's such an incredible a competition and activity, and it raises the visibility of graduate education and allows community to see just how impactful the work our graduate students do is on society. And incredible skill development for our graduate students, and it really launches their careers. So for the 10th anniversary, we're doing something a little different this year, and we're gonna have, in between presentations, some slides. So you're gonna see past winners in reverse chronological order from last year back to the very first 3MT here at UNH from 2016. So we'll do that kind of in between presentations. That'll be something you can kind of watch and think about. We'll talk a little bit about the 3MT competition and its history. How many of you are first timers to 3MT? Oh, a good number. Okay. Well, then we'll have a little patter in between about the history of the competition because it is kind of interesting as well. And then also for audience members, I think it's important for you to know that kind of on the back end, when the judges leave at the very end, there'll be about 10, 15, 20 minutes while they're deliberating on the winners, where as a group, if you have questions that come up or curiosities about any of the presentations, you'll be able to talk to the presenters, and we'll be able to talk as a group about 3MT and the research that you're hearing about today. So kind of bear that in mind. If you're taking notes, there might be things that you want to ask about later on. So we're going to quickly especially for those of you who are new, look at the, let's pause on this for a second. We are really, really grateful to have a Riverstone representative here, John Jovanovic, Yuknovich, yeah, thank you, Yuknovich, who is going to, at the end of the presentations, present about Riverstone. They've been our corporate sponsor for 8 years. And it's really been a powerful collaboration that's expanded. We'll talk about that a little bit off and on. But thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Give them a round of applause there. And then we're going to introduce you to, I think it's the competition overview. And we'll talk a little bit about the details in between a couple of presentations. But it's a globally recognized competition. And over 900 institutions around the world do it. It is a trademarked activity of the University of Queensland, and we'll talk a little bit about its origin a little bit later. Next slide, please. So here are the rules, and I'm not going to go through them in great detail. You can read them and glance at them quickly. The most important thing here is that it's a simple, spare presentation. 1 slide, 3 minutes. And the focus is on the clarity of the presentation itself, the creativity in how you put the slide together and how you work it through. And there are some limitations on things you're not supposed to do, including props. These are the details that our judges are taking into account as they go through. These are the rules, and then show the criteria next. The judging criteria, it's kind of important too for the audience to know the judges are not necessarily judging the value of the research independently of the presentation. They're judging the presentation, how clear, how well the presenter presents the research, and especially its impact, for example. So the comprehension and content needs to be clearly conveyed in the presentation, and then it needs to be engaging. And so those are the 2 broad categories that are being judged. And of course, the first one is where all the intellectual work has happened to digest and really understand deeply the research and be able to present it clearly. And then the creativity comes and the communication skill comes in that second batch of criteria. So those are the criteria the judges are applying. Next slide, please. And then here are the prizes. This is an exciting feature of our competition. Again, due to the generosity of our corporate sponsor, Riverstone, we're able to give prizes, including this People's Choice Award, which is fun. So all of you, I should have said it at the outset, but now I'll remind you, please make sure those cell phones are turned off or silent, but you want them out because at the end of the presentations, you're gonna be able to vote on the People's Choice winner. We'll have a Qualtrics survey, and each of you will be able to vote one time on that. So you'll be able to think about that along the way. What's really compelling you about the presentations? And then this key detail is we are connected to a national competition. So first, the winner of our competition will go to the Northeast Association of Graduate Schools regional competition. And if they win there, they go to the national competition. So this is part of a national competition of 3MTs. And then really importantly, our judges, this is, extremely, we're lucky to have such committed judges that come year after year, as well as some new folks. So I'll start with the new folks, actually. Anna Goldsmith joined us this year. She's a regional TEDx producer and professional speechwriter, and really wonderfully quickly pivoted to help presenters just in the last month work on their presentation skills. So we're really grateful to her. Give her a round. Everyone in the UNH community will know, of course, President Elizabeth Chilton, 21st president. She said that this is her third time serving as a judge. So she's been in this role before in other institutions and really knows the value of this competition. So we really thank her for joining us this year as a judge. Sticking with the system level personnel, Jamie Burnett, many of you will know him because he's such an incredible connector in the UNH community and statewide. He has served for 8 years as a Board of Trustees member for the system board. And he also practices strategic consulting in the political and political affairs, public affairs sector. So thank you, Jamie, again for joining us. And I think this is your 4th year as judge, so 4 years as judge in this competition. Karen Walker, former Deputy General Counsel for the Ernst & Young Global Network, and I believe this is the 7th year for you. Is that right? That's what I have in my notes. Okay, so 7 years, thank you very much. Beth Potier, of course, many of you will know her as well, Research Communications Director at University of New Hampshire. This is your 2nd year? My 1st year as a finals. But 2nd year as a judge, 1st year as a finals judge. Yeah, thank you very much. And then I saved for last Ivo, because Ivo has the great honor, and we have the great honor of having had him as a judge for all 10 years that we have run 3MT. We can't thank you enough. It's really been wonderful for you to support our students through all those years. Thank you very much. So the judges will be applying the criteria, and I think the next slide actually is the first. Yeah. Okay, so we're ready to compete. So bearing in mind all those caveats, 3 minutes. We'll have a little break between each one, and I'll come up and we'll find the 2 minutes to talk about 3MT in between. You ready? Presenters, you ready? All right, let's do this. So our first competitor, Ramil Mushtaq, PhD in mechanical engineering, 3MT title, Sieving Through What Matters.
All right, so throughout history, humans have harnessed the power of nature to extract energy. For example, wind. Although invisible, it holds immense potential to power the world sustainably, which is why wind energy is one of the fastest growing energy sources in the world, and the United States is the 2nd largest producer of wind energy. Now, these facts are fantastic, but designing a wind farm efficiently is not as simple as distributing a bunch of wind turbines in an open field. The manner in which air flows through these turbines determines not just how much energy you can extract out of it, but also tells you something about the lifespan of these turbines. So studying the interaction between wind and wind turbine is extremely critical in designing these wind farms efficiently. This is exactly what I do. I develop mathematically reduced models to predict or study the movement of air through wind farms. Now one might ask, Why don't you simply simulate this entire system using a computer software? Why bother about mathematical reduction at all? Well, in my area of research, for several reasons, some of these detailed simulations that capture every tiny twist and swirl of air as it moves through a turbine is ridiculously expensive and time-consuming. If that's hard to believe, here's the data. The electric power that's required to run a simulation that captures the movement of air through a single wind turbine is equal to the power output of the turbine itself. Now that's like you're spending all the money you have and you're going bankrupt to get a couple of classes in money management. That's totally ridiculous if what you want is optimization, right? So here is how I solve this problem. I use mathematical tools like asymptotic analysis to simplify the physical system first before feeding it to a computer software. So these mathematical tools act as a sieve, and rather than focusing on every little detail of the flow, my model focuses on the major patterns or the main events in the flow field, the events that actually matters. So now, some of the simulations that would have taken a couple of months earlier to complete can now be completed in a couple of hours using this approach. So here is why this is important. Now engineers can test more and more designs and come up with the most efficient design for the wind farm in an efficient, faster, and cheaper manner. I totally understand. All of us here are not investors in the wind energy sector, of course. But here is why this is important to you too. The more efficient we make the wind energy sector, the more accessible and affordable it becomes, especially for the people and places to whom it matters the most. So to sum up, what I do makes clean energy sector more reliable, taking the power of every breeze to more and more people. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry?
You were amazing.
Thanks.
That was
Is Cameron here, by the way? Okay. She's teaching. Yes, thank you from the back. So Cameron, our first Where Are They Now past winner is still with us in the UNH community. And as you can see, they're going to be on a dissertation year fellowship next year, which she just heard that she won for the following year, and is going to graduate next May. And throughout these slides, you're going to see we asked our past winners to kind of comment on how 3MT impacted their professional development, and there's some interesting stories that will be some of the slides as we go along. 3MT was invented by University of Queensland kind of on a lark, an experience that the provost there had while taking a shower. They were limited to 3-minute showers during a drought season. And while taking a shower one day, he came up with this idea, like, what would it be if we kind of constrained our students to think about how to present just in this 3-minute tight, compact time? And so that's the way 3MT was birthed, and it led to the evolution of the competition there in Australia. And as I said before, now it's 900 universities that compete. At UNH, we started out with only 6 participants our first year. So that's almost always the case that, when a university launches a new competition, it just is a, little small cadre of people. But it grew really quickly. And so now we're up to typically getting, we now have 28 competitors in the final stage. Usually we select 32 out of around 60 to 70 applications. So these are the people who have gone through the full professional development training and kind of earned the right to apply for the competition. So very strong, robust participation among our graduate students. And again, I'll come back and talk about this a little bit later. We're kind of one of the signal 3NTs in this region. Okay, we are ready for our next presenter. Are you? Oh, here we go. So Nizar Al-Halabi, PhD, Civil and Environmental Engineering. 3MT title, You Can't Have Your Road and Break It Too.
Test. A long time ago, people used wagons to travel. But weak grounds made travel difficult. So they built strong roads. Nowadays, we do the same. When the ground below is weak, engineers make roads thicker and stronger so that traffic never stops. Sounds good? Well, I disagree. Actually, I came to the States to do the opposite, to stop traffic. Now imagine this. You have a cake. Press your finger into it, and what happens? It sinks. Roads sitting on wet, flooded soil, holding a lot of water, do the same. I'm sure all of you have come across highway bumps and holes on your way here. Your wheels have been pressing a giant cake, and this is exactly what I'm trying to solve. So instead of just making roads thicker, I'm focusing on what's happening below roads. In my lab, I take soil samples, add water, push on them, and measure how they react. This answers two key questions. How much strength does the soil lose when being flooded? And how long does it take the soil to drain water and recover? So let's break it down. Soils holding a lot of water become weak and unable to support heavy vehicles. But as water drains out over time, soils gain strength again. So here's the idea. Instead of waiting for roads to break, I want to predict and control when, where, and what traffic should be allowed. To make this happen, I need to turn science into action after analyzing and understanding the behavior of soils. Thus, I'll be working on an app that helps decision makers to control the traffic based on real-time weather and ground conditions. But wait, this doesn't mean that the trucks stop moving forever. Trucks can take other less important roads for a short period of time while the ground drains water out and gains strength again. This isn't just about roads. It's about smarter decisions that save money, protect the environment, and keep everyone safe. So did I really come to stop traffic? Actually, some traffic at the right time in the right place. I'm here to protect your roads, your cars, and every dollar of your tax money spent under your wheels. Thank you.
So many in the audience and the community will know, that in graduate education, one of the great virtues of a good graduate school is we kind of cross-seminate and move students back and forth. And our winner, Melanie Smith, who did her MS in marine biology here, moved on to do her PhD at Syracuse University, where she's, still today completing her degree. And this is really important in the academic world, that we're kind of moving our students back and forth in different institutions, so they're getting some exposure to different forms of advising, different science. We love it when they stay and complete their PhDs here too, right? But we're going to see a couple of examples of some master's students that have launched PhDs. And here, she's talking about the scientific communication skills that she's built through that process. And the reason I bring up the movement, from one institution to another is that recently 3MT passed a rule where the national competition is going to be only for PhD students, which we didn't love. We didn't think that was a great, new rule, but they put it in place, and it's one of the ways they're using to kind of filter. But we have produced some wonderful master's winners through the years, and you're going to see some of them in the past winner list that we create. And then, of course, as you're sitting and watching, you're probably going to be thinking a little bit about yourself, and maybe some of us are of that generation and know what an elevator pitch is, the pitch that you make on your way up an elevator, that limited amount of time that you have to talk to that special person. And you think about what this preparation for this particular competition allows these students to do, right? It allows them to have a kind of pre-built set of ideas that they can quickly communicate in a tight situation. So it's just an incredibly valuable professional skill to have developed. And then it's the kind of thing you'll be able to move into other areas of your life as you grow and develop as a professional. Okay, judges are ready. I got the thumbs up. We are ready to move our next competitor, which is Zoe Robinson, Master of Science in Agricultural Science, 3MT title, What's in a Kiwi Berry?
What's in a kiwi berry? Could a fruit by any other name taste so sweet? I don't think so, but I'm biased because my name is Zoe Robinson and I study kiwi berry for my master's degree in agricultural science. Pictured on your upper left, kiwi berry is high in vitamin C and calcium and has a delicious tropical flavor, like its cousin, the fuzzy kiwi. But it is smaller, hairless, and most importantly, it is one of the few fruits that can survive the cold climate of the Northeast. You see, the true answer to what's in a kiwi berry is about more than its flavor or nutrient profile. It's about what it takes to grow kiwi berry. Kiwi berry has only been commercially produced in the Northeast for about 50 years. The first kiwi berry growing guide was only published in 2021, and there are still many unanswered questions. That's why there are fewer than 50 commercial kiwi berry farmers in the Northeast today. While this new frontier is exciting for researchers like me, for potential adopters, farmers who would add kiwi berry to their farm, it presents a problem. Imagine you are a farmer who wants to add a new fruit to their farm. Because you are investing your time and money into the crop, you want to be as sure as possible it will be a success. So you need to talk to other farmers who currently grow that crop, whether it's online, over the phone, or, like Mr. Blue and Blonde here, in person. Getting answers to questions like, how much did it cost to start? What problems have you had? And how much do I charge per pound? Helps you to understand the benefits and the risks of that crop to make an informed decision. Unfortunately, because of the rarity of kiwi berry farmers, this farmer-to-farmer communication is difficult. And if you can't get answers to what's in a kiwi berry, you won't grow it. That's the problem. But that's where I come in. My research bridges this knowledge gap by creating the first Northeast kiwi berry production report. Unlike the 2021 Growing Guide, my research details the experiences of actual kiwi berry farmers. I have identified 35 current commercial kiwi berry farmers across these 8 states, and I created a survey to ask about their growing and marketing practices, which 50% have taken. As I compile my results, the answer to what's in a kiwi berry becomes clearer. There are opportunities. The average price for kiwi berry at farmers markets is $24 a pound, but there are also risks. 70% of farmers have experienced frost damage. Future producers will read my report and be better prepared to grow kiwi berry, leading to higher earnings and increased production. My results directly affect the level of kiwi berry adoption in the Northeast, increasing access to and diversity of locally grown fruit. So, what's in a kiwi berry? A sweeter future for us all. Thank you.
The first of 3 videos. We asked some of our past winners to send in a video instead of a slide. And this one I'm particularly, it's a little longer, so we're gonna get a little behind schedule by showing it. But I wanna highlight it because we are incredibly proud at UNH of our international students. They're so impressive in so many ways. Not only have they, educated themselves and competed to get into very difficult programs, but they're often coming, from radically different cultures and having to acclimate to a brand new world. And they're doing all of this in a second or even a third language, right? So you're gonna see several competitors tonight or this afternoon that are competing in their second or third language, right? And it's just so impressive when you think about that. Imagine yourself, whatever language you speak, going and talking about these complex ideas not in your native tongue. So it's incredibly impressive, and this video kind of highlights that and the importance of 3MT for this particular competitor.
Hi, everybody. I am Maria Jose Marin Jarrin. I am a PhD now. From Ecuador. I work at the university, a public university called Escuela Superior Politécnica Litoral, ESPOL, here in Ecuador in the coastal region. And I am specifically in the Department of Ocean Engineering and Marine Sciences. And I am a professor within the oceanography career. I also coordinate the master's degree in ocean sciences, and my research is mostly done in the Galapagos Islands. And so that's me. 3 minutes challenges. Why I did it initially, I took it as a real challenge. I was like, I can talk about my research, and I can do it short and sweet and easily understandable for everybody. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. It took me a while. It took me lots of rehearsing and shorting stuff up, and talking with friends who didn't speak the same oceanography language that I spoke. That was the most difficult part, making everything available for anybody and everybody to understand. one of the suggestions that the first round judges gave me was to try to hone it down to everybody, because the first run, in the first round, what I did was general, what is the project that I was explaining. But it was too technical. And so I had to bring it down, home it, like have it accessible for everybody. Not dumb it down, but bring it to be accessible to everybody. And what I did was I added something that everybody can share. And that was just this idea, this message, sentence, I don't know what it's called, that if you if you give a person a fish, they will eat one day. If you teach a person to fish, they will eat forever. And what I added was that if you understand and learn more about the ocean, you are going to be able to give fish to the community. And so that helped me go into the next, once I was in my second round, and I did much better evaluation scores afterwards. So that was that. I still use these skills that I learned, especially when I go to audiences that do not speak the technical language that I speak. I start by getting them interested in whatever I'm going to talk about by bringing it closer to them. I use a lot in science communication because of these positions that I do here in Ecuador. I use a lot of science communication. So it has been great to use those skills into what I do now. Good luck, everybody. Have fun.
I don't know if she's online, but we do have a big, yeah, I think she is, yeah. So we have a big online audience. In addition to the people in the room, we usually have about 200 to 250 people online, including some of our former competitors. So that's kind of fun. Okay, next up, we have Sebastian Rowan, PhD in Civil and Environmental Engineering, 3MT title, Measuring What Matters for Flood Risk Management.
These are my daughters, Eleanor and Isla. Eleanor turned 3 in December, and Isla is 5 weeks old today. Now I know what you're thinking. Just a picture of your kids for your 3MT slide? That seems pretty risky. Yeah, fair. But really, what is the risk? Well, the winner of this competition takes home $1,000. That could buy a lot of baby formula. If I made the perfect slide with an incredible graph and just the exact right amount of text, let's say my chances of winning today are 10%. In statistical terms then, we would say the expected value of me entering this competition is $100. So what's the expected value of entering with this slide? Well, last time I checked, adorableness unfortunately wasn't in the scoring rubric. So let's say my chances of winning are just 1%. Expected value, $10. So yeah, compared to the more traditional slide, it seems like a pretty big risk. But so far, I've only talked about the financial benefit to each option. What about the cost? Every hour spent working on a more traditional slide is an hour not spent at the kitchen table making witch's potions with Eleanor. That could be the hour that Isla smiles for the first time, or it could be just one more hour of sleep. Are those things worth trading for $90 more in expected benefit? Not for me. This process of weighing the expected costs and benefits of different options is fundamental to decision-making for flood risk management projects. When the Army Corps of Engineers is deciding whether to build a new flood barrier, they estimate the cost to construct it and compare that to the dollar value in flood damages it's expected to prevent. The problem, though, is that this process only considers dollar values, and the decision ultimately comes down to a price tag. Through my research, I'm working with the Army Corps of Engineers to improve this process, to consider project benefits that can't necessarily be accounted for in dollars, to answer questions like, how many fewer cases of flood-related anxiety and depression could there be if we prioritize flood mitigation in residential areas over commercial? What's the carbon footprint of different flood mitigation options? More specifically, my research looks at flood impacts to the home, and I found that home damage is a leading cause of mental illness after flood events, and that repairing those damages is a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions which contribute to climate change and make flooding worse. Overall, my research shows that the value of flood mitigation is greater than its price tag. There's so much more to life than money. And if we can turn that fact into policy, we can build a safer and more sustainable world for everyone, including my 2 daughters. Thank you.
So we're in 2022 in our Wayback Machine, working our way backwards in time. And here we have another graduate of one of our master's programs who's now out in Stanford. And he was a People's Choice winner at the NAGS level. So he went up to the next level, the Northeast Association of Graduate Schools, and won the People's Choice Award there, which is kind of fun. The last presentation especially, which referred to the prize money, I'll kind of come back to the prize money and reintroduce the Riverstone partnership. There's a little history there. It's kind of interesting. Carrie Moorhead, the dean, again, most of you know her, but who don't know, who retired last year. A former advisee was the CEO of Riverstone, and they got to talking about the skill set that 3MT cultivates. And of course, you know, as I referred to earlier, it was still in its infancy. This was the 3rd year of the competition. And Riverstone decided to come in as a corporate sponsor. And that's a really valuable net addition that they brought to the table. It allowed us, for example, to start offering the prizes. We had offered small prizes. It allowed us to raise the prizes. It allowed us to start hiring speakers to come in and do professional workshops on science communication and communication skills. And it also allowed some, you know, very everyday things like providing lunches after workshops. So it was a really great step to kind of start building the 3MT capacity, our ability to kind of support our students through the whole process. In a future break, we'll talk a little bit more about how that grew over time. Also just wanted to point out that that as you know, we look at these past winners, part of what we're doing is trying to reconnect with the outcomes that we get out of not just 3MT, but other kind of professional development activities that we do in the graduate school. We try to train our graduate students in these long skills that have a long tail. And a lot of them don't show up until they're in their 1st or 2nd jobs, right? So it's part of a kind of overall approach to graduate education where the Central Graduate School provides some of this kind of common support across the whole graduate student population. Okay, we are ready for the next presenter. You ready? Okay. Imran Khan, PhD in Civil and Environmental Engineering, 3MT title, Glacial Lakes, Critical Resources and a Looming Threat.
Imagine you live in a mountain community where you depend on glacial lakes for fresh water. But you also realize that these lakes could cause devastating floods, destroying everything within minutes, as shown here in these 2 pictures on your left. This is the reality for millions of people around the world, including myself. I grew up in a small town in northern Pakistan in the Himalayas. This region is home to thousands of glaciers and glacial lakes. In my research, I study these lakes, and this work is critical for 3 key reasons. Number 1, glacial lakes are a vital water resource, and millions of people depend on them. Number 2, these lakes are highly sensitive to climate change, and they can be used as early warning signs. Rising temperatures lead to faster melting of glaciers, which ultimately results in the formation and expansion of glacial lakes. So by continuously monitoring these lakes, we can keep a track of the climate. Number 3, these lakes are responsible for one of the most devastating disasters in mountain regions. Globally, around 15 million people are threatened by floods that originate from these lakes. However, there are 2 major challenges which make the study of glacial lakes difficult. First, these lakes are located at high elevation mountainous regions which are not easily accessible. So we use satellites to observe them from space, which brings us to the second problem. Most of these satellite images are highly complex, and they require advanced processing to make sense of them. In my research, I use modern internet-based tools and techniques to develop automated methods which can efficiently process hundreds of satellite images. I use these processed images to understand the evolution of glacial lakes over time, focusing on when they form, when they reach their largest sizes, and when they drain out. An example of a lake area changing over time is shown here in this plot, where every sudden drop in the plot line corresponds to a rapid drainage event from the lake, which resulted in flooding conditions downstream. In my research, I do this kind of analysis for thousands of glacial lakes. Now, why is this work important? At local scales, this research can help vulnerable communities prepare for any flooding conditions, while at a broader scale, this research can help us understand how a changing climate is impacting global ice reserves and vital water resources. Thank you.
This slide has a little bit of a mistake. We have two people from 2022, but we thought we'd run with it anyway. Nick won the People's Choice Award in 2022, so we have included his slide here. He tells us a great story about, he works in government research projects as a chemist, and he talks in his Where Are They Now about how important those skills have been to him in terms of communicating across the sort of science and policy divide. So a great example of some of the impact these skills have. And also a good kind of way we can kind of loop back to the story with Riverstone. So we're in our third year of a pretty dramatically escalated partnership with Riverstone, that they agreed to quadruple their gift in support of 3MT. And of course, that had a huge impact on what we were then able to deliver. We were able to deliver a lot more training at a bigger scale, and that meant more support for students in their preparation. And that preparation part of 3MT, as we run it here at UNH, is really important. It allows students over weeks and months to kind of build that skill set. It's really not about the competition, in other words. It really is about the process that we lead our students through, and so they can develop these skills on their own, identify places where they want to get better. We'll probably be able to hear from some of them at the end of the competition tonight to talk about some of the revelations that they have along the way. And often, for those of you who maybe attended the semifinals, you'll see they'll make changes even from the semifinals to the finals in terms of refining that skill set to just make that presentation that much better. So it's a constant improvement that starts way back in the fall. You're seeing the very end of a process of months of work that they've put in to kind of get where they need to go. We ready? Okay. Next up, there we go. Kristen Patania, PhD in psychology, 3MT title, Finding the Right Shade of Emotion.
If you've ever painted your bedroom before, then you may know how difficult it can be to choose the right color. There are countless different shades for each color. And just as the slide behind me shows, colors can look different depending on the lighting and the context they're in. Similar to color, there are many different shades to our emotions. Feeling bad can mean anything from being angry, overwhelmed, sad, or distressed. And the problem is, if you're unable to choose the right shade to how you're feeling, it could lead to an unintended outcome. For example, if you mistake feeling lazy when you're feeling exhausted, you could push through when what you really need to do is rest. This ability to be specific with how you're feeling is called emotional granularity. And past research has shown that people higher in emotional granularity cope better with stress, have increased mental health, and have stronger relationships. For instance, if you can imagine telling a friend or a partner that you're feeling unappreciated instead of just generally upset, they may know how to support you better. So clearly, emotional granularity is an important skill. However, there are still some questions about emotional granularity. For instance, we're not sure if or how we can improve this skill in people, and also, if it changes depending on the context people are in. For example, just like lighting looks different in different contexts, perhaps our emotions look different when we're around different social contexts or the things that we're doing. My name is Kristen. I'm a PhD candidate in social psychology, and to study these questions, I asked participants to rate how they were feeling, what they were doing, and who they were with multiple times a day for 6 weeks. And every 2 weeks, I asked them to report their mental health symptoms. And what I found is that the way we talk about our emotions changes depending on who we're with. People were more specific with their emotions when they were around other people versus where they were alone than directly interacting with other people. And the exciting part is that just by taking a second to report on their emotions every day, their emotional granularity improved over the 6 weeks. And not only did they become more specific with how they were labeling their emotions, their mental health symptoms decreased. In fact, their depression symptoms decreased by 16% over the 6 weeks of the study. My work shows that we can train ourselves to be more specific with our emotions. So the next time you're feeling an emotion, pause. What specific emotion are you feeling? This tiny shift in awareness could lead to better mental health and stronger relationships in your life, just by knowing the exact shade you're feeling. Thank you.
Okay, it's time for another video. This one's a little shorter, and I'll give it a little bit of a setup. You know, as a humanist, I really like to stress that research comes in a lot of forms, right? Research comes in the humanities and social sciences and different forms of output. But research also appears in creative work, that our creative writers, our musicians, our artists of the world, they do a lot of research. They're finding things all the time. So we've had several past winners of the 3MT competition that have been creatives. And this video will highlight one of them. I told you to turn your phone off, but keep it out. You can pre-order this book, which is actually just about to be published. The timing is really wonderful. You're going to hear from Via about how she used her 3MT pitch to pitch her book, which is now about to be published.
Hi, everyone. My name is Via Luino, and my pronouns are she, her. I graduated from UNH with an MFA in fiction writing in 2021. My thesis was a full-length YA novel entitled All the Scattered Stars. Many revisions later, this book is now set to be published in 2026 by Running Wild Press, and this is the description. The glitter of Venice's lights hides a dark truth. When the floodwaters rise, no one is safe. Carew knows better than to trust anyone but her own. Hidden deep in the winding twists of Venice's narrow alleys, Carew and her found family must disguise themselves to survive. They are Runlockney, an ethnic minority gifted with the ability to channel the power of the earth, their goddess. They have long been vilified and prosecuted for their strange abilities, and Carew's gift is the strongest of her generations. So when the police arrive in St. Mark's Square to arrest Carew for a crime she didn't commit, she does the only thing she can. She runs. Though Carew manages to escape the police, a larger threat is drawing near. Carew must figure out what the goddess is trying to tell her, protect those she loves, and uncover the truth of her past before it's too late, because Venice is sinking tonight. Thank you.
Next up, we have Mamta Kajal, PhD in Agricultural Sciences, 3MT title, Meet Terry, the Made in UNH Strawberry.
From the day I started my PhD, I was determined to do something significant, and I did it. I'm Mamta Kajal, and I have developed a brand new strawberry right here at UNH. Meet Terry. Terry is a hybrid plant. Hybrids are developed by breeding genetically different plants so that we can make new crops which have better disease resistance, better adaptability to changing climate, and most importantly, novel fruits. Hybrids occur naturally and can be developed manually. But here is a big problem. These hybrids are sometimes sterile. This means they do not produce any fruits. Why would that happen? The reason is incompatibility between parental DNAs. Being genetically different, the two parental DNAs do not get along with each other in the hybrids. And what we get are sterile plants, which have no commercial value of their own. But every problem has a solution. If the parental DNAs in these sterile plants are duplicated, the duplicate parental DNA copies work along with each other and make sterile plants fertile. And that's what I did. I worked on sterile plants which were developed by breeding two strawberry wild species. The aim here was to develop a new breed, a new hybrid, which would have distinct fruits. But the parental DNAs were like, We don't like each other, and we are not getting along. And I was like, well, challenge accepted. I treated these sterile plants with a naturally occurring compound called colchicine, which duplicated the parental DNAs in them. These sterile plants are now making fruits, and these fruits are orange-red and very aromatic. In the US, this is the first report on development of a new strawberry hybrid by using DNA duplication. Let's think about the impact this research has. This procedure can be implemented to make new crops and increase variety in the existing one. This will in turn increase biodiversity, which is crucial from a grower and environmentalist point of view. Another thing, Terry's fruit have distinct flavor and aroma as compared to the strawberries we eat. With more research, it has potential to be launched in consumer market in coming years. So in future, when you see this new strawberry in the grocery stores near you, you can proudly say that Terry is a made in UNH strawberry. Thank you. I'm so proud of you.
As you have a look at David Height, who wildlife and conservation biology graduate and winner in 2021, I want to zero in on the work he's doing as a wildlife biologist for the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians in Michigan, and the way he talks about the importance of the skills he cultivated as the 3MT winner in science, public science communication. This is such an important area for our society that we produce great science, we produce great scientists, but we also produce people who are able to go out in the public and explain those ideas in real context, right? So contexts like this where stakeholders in a community need to be informed of the best science, need to have access to that science, but they also need to have a kind of back and forth with people about their values and how that science fits into their world. And this is an important component of any stakeholder relationship that we have, that we build. And of course, UNH has this great tradition, as an extension, as a land-grant institution with a powerful extension office of interacting and reaching out to the community. So it's a really important skill for our graduate students to have in the modern world. I've referred to your phone burning a hole in your pocket a number of times, and I'll do it again. On your program at the back, you'll see a QR code. And at the end of the evening, I'm going to ask you to get that phone out and get on the QR code and make a donation to support 3MT in the future. The 603 Challenge is coming. But I want you to sort of think about folks like David when you do that this is real, tangible, and concrete impact on our students' professional growth, and it extends the university's impact into communities. It's a very value-added thing that we do. Every dollar is going to kind of accelerate that interaction of science and society. So it's really, really important. Judges, we good? Okay, here we go. Next we have Kurosh Asada Fakir, PhD in Civil and Environmental Engineering, 3MT title, Who Gets Fed? Balancing Priorities in Road Stream Crossing Management.
Hello, everyone. Imagine you are on a road trip, enjoying your vacation, and out of a sudden, there is a flash flood that washes away the road and your car. Horrible, isn't it? And it's not just hypothetical. The top picture is of a road stream crossing flooded in New Hampshire in 2007, leading to the death of 7 people and massive destruction. Road stream crossings are those structures that allow our roads to pass over rivers. In the United States, we have 6.6 million of them, many aging and in poor condition. Besides flooding, these poor condition crossings can cause harm to our environment. For instance, by blocking fish migration upstream, which is essential for their survival. For sure, a fish cannot jump high enough to pass over a crossing like the bottom picture. The solution is that we need to replace these crossings with new standard structures. However, since we have a very limited budget, we need to prioritize these replacements. Unfortunately, our limited budget is scattered among stakeholders and managers with different interests, many lacking prioritization framework. Those with prioritization framework inefficiently look at one crossing at a time, considering their own benefits. But what if we can find those crossings that are critical both to transportation and environment? Some calling it killing two birds with one stone. But since my wife and I love birds, I'll use the twisted version of feeding two birds with one scone. And in my research, I'm feeding many birds who are transportation and environmental stakeholders. First, in my research, I developed a model that looks into different combinations of crossings and find those that are bringing the maximum benefit to transportation and environmental while considering our limited budget. Our results show that our model outperforms traditional methods. Great, isn't it? But this is my model. If our managers don't trust it, they won't use it. So we took the next step. We interviewed and surveyed over 100 stakeholders to understand their preferences and their priorities. Now we are using these survey results and collaborating with key managers to co-design a decision support tool that considers different aspects of road stream crossings, making sure all of our birds are getting fed. With this tool, our managers will make smarter decisions to make sure we all have safer community and healthier environment. Thank you.
And so, this slide again allows us to talk a little bit about, so we're talking about a 2020 winner who's out working in, living in Washington, D.C. and working on policy issues. Those of you who work in the salty space, that's the phrase I learned from Diane Foster for this really incredible mixture of ocean engineering, marine biology in our School of Marine Science and Ocean Engineering. You know how rich this interaction is between federal government agencies like NOAA that fund work that we do here on campus. And then the reverse of that is our graduate students that get these degrees and go off and make contributions to these agencies and continue that work. Incredibly important publicly funded and accessible resources that all of us use in all of our daily lives. We look up NOAA weather reports, and we access this kind of information all the time. So UNH folks are at the core of this really valuable set of public research outcomes, and it's a really important part of a again, land grant, sea grant, space grant institution like ours that we're producing knowledge that goes out in the world and does things. It's not, we're not keeping it under a bushel. We're not, producing science just for science sake. We're doing some of that too, of course, but we're doing a lot of work that has high impacts out in the world. And it's really important part of the work we do at UNH, and our students are the vehicles to get that work out into the community. It looks as though our judges are ready to go to the next presentation. We have Sean Schaefer, PhD, Natural Resources and Earth System Science, 3MT title, How Microbes Shift the Soil Carbon Balance in the Alaskan Tundra.
Unless you're like me, you're probably not thinking about microbes on a daily basis. But these small creatures can do some pretty amazing things that are critical to life and society. We use microbes to make plants grow bigger or become more drought tolerant. We use them to clean up polluted areas. We even use them to make delicious food and beverages like beer and cheese. But as a microbial ecologist, what I'm thinking most about is how we can use microbes to combat the effects of climate change by storing more carbon in the soil and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Just like how we shape the microbes that live in our gut based on the kinds of foods that we eat, plants shape the microbes that live on their roots based on the kinds of foods that they make. And these differences in microbial communities can have key impacts on the amount of carbon that's stored in the soil or released to the atmosphere as greenhouse gases, where it can contribute to climate change. My name's Sean Schaefer, and in a few weeks I'll have my doctorate in natural resources. I study how plant root microbial communities are changing in the Alaskan tundra and what this means for global carbon cycles. The tundra is rapidly changing, where shrubs are replacing grasses. In just 30 years, we can see this entire landscape has been transformed. and this phenomenon is becoming increasingly common. One of the central questions for my dissertation is how will this increase of shrubs influence the amount of carbon that's lost from the soil? And to really get at this, we have to think about what the microbes are doing, but more importantly, what the microbes are eating. That way we can figure out how much CO2 they're exhaling in the process. There's two primary food groups for microbes in the tundra. There's easily metabolized plant sugars, or there's decomposed bits of plant and microbial material called soil organic matter. And unlike plant sugars that are rapidly replenished, soil organic matter takes a long time to build up, which means that excessive digestion of soil organic matter can lead to a loss of soil carbon and increased greenhouse gas emissions. What I'm finding in my research is that most microbes specialize in eating soil organic matter or plant sugars, and that the proportion of these microbes are strongly influenced by the plant species. I'm finding that shrubs harbor much more sugar-eating microbes and much less soil organic matter-eating microbes than grasses do. So as shrubs and their root-associated microbes replace grasses in the tundra, we might also expect there to be a reduction in the amount of soil organic matter-eating microbes. So here's to hoping that this shift in plant and microbial communities might slow some of the effects of climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and keeping more of carbon in the soil. Thank you.
Time for another video. This is another creative graduate from the MFA program, Creative Nonfiction, Reverend Holland Pryor, who talks in this video about sort of the impact on her work that she does now as a writing center director and as a professor.
Hi, I'm Holland Pryor, and I earned my MFA in writing from the University of New Hampshire back in 2017. And when I think back on my time as a grad student at UNH, the 3-minute thesis competition definitely looms large in my mind. It was such a wonderful, fun, encouraging experience that gave me really great practice in speaking about the work that I do in clear, concise terms for people not just in my discipline, not just in the writing community, but outside of that community, and most importantly, outside of the university. The 3-minute thesis is a great way to practice communicating effectively and to engage with an audience, which are essential skills for us all. And those are skills that I've continued to hone and develop since leaving UNH. I went on to earn my PhD in rhetoric, writing, and linguistics, and I still draw upon those skills today. Currently, I'm an associate professor of rhetoric and writing at Point Loma Nazarene University, where I also direct our campus writing program. And I now find myself teaching my own students those same skills that I got to practice in the 3-minute thesis: how to carefully consider an audience, how to employ strategies to help your audience understand the work that you do, how to communicate your work clearly and efficiently, and maybe most importantly, how to infuse your words with passion and purpose to get others excited about the work that you do. Those are essential skills for us all, regardless of what discipline or profession we go into. And so I encourage you to make the most of this 3-minute thesis opportunity, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what you do.
Next up, we have Manjot Reki, PhD in Earth and Environmental Science, 3MT title, Rooting for Diversity, Growing a Sustainable Future.
Imagine if you ate only pizza for every meal, every day. You might enjoy it at first, but over time, your body will feel tired, deprived of nutrients, and you would need supplements to complete your nutrition. That's exactly what happens to the soil. When same crop, such as corn, is grown on the same land every year, the soil gets tired, loses its nutrients, and rely heavily on synthetic fertilizers. This practice is called monoculture. And in the US, more than 15 million acres are under corn monoculture. That is 3 times the size of New Hampshire. And here's the problem. To maximize yields, farmers apply large amounts of fertilizers, which are highly inefficient. Shockingly, more than half of fertilizer applied is lost in the environment. contaminating water bodies and posing a threat to ecosystems, animals, and humans. Okay, let's think for a moment. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could grow just as much food while using less fertilizer? Well, diverse crop rotation might be the answer. Just like by eating a diverse diet, fruits, vegetables, meat, make you healthy, rotating different crops on the same land every year adds unique organic matter to the soil with living and dead root inputs and make the soil healthier. Now, the concept of diverse rotation is not new. Past research has shown that these rotations can help break the cycles of pests and diseases and improve soil health. But what we don't understand is how these rotations interact with nitrogen fertilizers for crop production. And that's where my research comes in. My name is Manjot, and I study how different crop rotations influence nitrogen fertilizer use. I applied different range of nitrogen fertilizers to corn grown in monoculture and diverse crop rotation, and assessed crop growth and nitrogen use efficiency. My results indicate that corn grown in diverse crop rotation absorbed more nitrogen from the soil organic matter, reducing the need for fertilizers. Even better, corn grown in diverse rotations at lower fertilizer rates grew just as well as higher fertilizer rates in monoculture. Plus, the fertilizers in diverse rotations were up to 50% more efficient. My study shows that diverse crop rotations can help farmers reduce fertilizer costs, maintain high yields, and improve soil health. This practice isn't just better for the land, it's better for the farmers, for the environment, and the future of our planet. I'm rooting for diversity. Are you? Thank you.
Come on in, find a seat. It's good to see crowd continue to build as we head toward our climax. We are in our backward moving time scale. We're at 2019, where we see Sydney Birch with her PhD in molecular and evolutionary systems biology. Yeah, and one of the threads, obviously, that I'm pulling through all of these winners is, their ongoing success, their career success, and the ways that this gets launched here at UNH, the ways that the programming that we offer our graduate students, there's, I don't know, just glancing around, a couple of dozen faculty members and fellow students in this audience, and they're the engine that drive graduate education, those talented faculty, these energetic, smart, and ambitious graduate students. And where those two things meet, that's where the magic of graduate education happens. And around the edge of it is the paracurricular skills that our students are needing to kind of go out and compete. And their advisors give them some of that, and some of their peers, they develop it together, and a lot of it happens through programming that we offer in the graduate school or the colleges offer through their programs in professional development. And so I've referred to the 603 Challenge. There's going to be 603 challenges all across the institution, obviously, that launched here in the next couple of weeks. But tonight, I'm just sort of urging this 3MT part of it. It's a really unique signature event that we offer. And the gifts that come in from the 603 Challenge, that have come in over the last several years, that Carrie's been promoting that in the spring, they go to this direct support that benefits these students as they prepare and get ready for this competition. Our judges give me the nod. We're ready to move to the next presentation. We have Catherine Dennis, PhD in mathematics education, 3MT title, Flipping the Script on Technology and Mathematics.
So I don't know if anyone's noticed, but technology has become super embedded into our lives. From the coffee machine you used this morning to the presentation you're watching right now, it influences so many aspects of our day. In fact, did you know that over 90% of today's jobs require some type of technological proficiency? That's why it's critical that undergraduate students are using technology in the classroom. Hi, my name is Catherine Dennis, and I'm a PhD candidate in mathematics education. And I'm really interested in how personal devices, things like laptops, tablets, and smartphones are being used in the undergraduate mathematics classroom. So a lot of the existing research in this area looks at teacher-assigned personal device use. So this is when a teacher assigns a whole group of students a particular way to use their personal devices, and researchers look at the impacts of that use. For example, a lot of studies right now are exploring the impacts of assigning online digital homework versus paper pencil homework. However, in my own teaching practices, I noticed a lot of students also independently using their personal devices. So this inspired me to flip the script on the traditional teacher-assigned research model and instead look at something a bit more student-centric. So I posed the question, how are undergraduate students choosing to use their personal devices for mathematics? Through surveys, observations, and interviews, I found 3 big categories of usage. 1, students are using their devices to store and organize mathematical information. 2, students are using their devices to do some sort of mathematics for them, such as calculating. And 3, which was most prominent, students are using their devices to assist with the mathematical learning process. So they're doing things like watching online videos to clarify confusions that they may have had in class, or looking at graphical representations to deepen their conceptual understanding. So moving forward, I encourage educators to allow personal device use. In fact, it's an equitable practice as students can and are addressing their individual learning needs. Furthermore, educators can learn about student preferences around personal device use with this research and perhaps incorporate some of those preferences into their lesson planning. So, it's not always about what students can learn from us as educators and researchers, but sometimes it's important to ask, what can we learn from students? Thank you.
Some of you will know this one, right? And actually, just come over here. So, whenever we use the word we in talking about 3MT, we're really talking about Giovanna. As many of you know, she is just a dynamo of energy in the graduate school, but has been essential to the 3MT throughout its 10 years. So I want to make sure we just give her a special thanks here as a group. I didn't ask her permission to do that because I know she would have said no. But you know, she's really amazing, and she carries the torch. The whole graduate school staff, you know, are so oriented towards student success, and she really carries the torch for that. And you know, if you can't see her, she's up here living and dying on every word of every presenter. And the passion and energy she brings to this work is really just truly impressive. And so, you know, and I want to just say as part of that, you know, we are, I said earlier, we're kind of a regional leader in 3MT. And again, that's largely due to Giovanna. And so when new universities in the region reach out and say, we want to launch a 3MT competition, it's Giovanna that meets with them. So that's University of Rhode Island most recently, whom she helped kind of build out their programming and launch their 3MT. I was on a call 2 days ago with the new dean, University of Connecticut. They don't run a 3MT at Connecticut. And she said, we want to imitate your model. Put me in touch with your staff so we can really start working on this. So we are a regional leader in this, and we're quite proud of it because again, we know the impact this work has both on the students and on the community. So massive thanks to you, Giovanna, for all the work you've done through all these years. Let's give her another round of applause. She deserves it. Right. Okay, so our next presenter, Abrar Ibrahim, PhD in Mechanical Engineering, 3MT title, Transforming Material Testing with AI.
Can the car you drive or the plane you fly in be stronger, lighter, and more eco-friendly? Absolutely. All it takes is change the way we test materials. Hi everyone. Today I'm excited to share how my research solved one of the biggest challenges faced by car and plane industries. Here's the problem. Engineers run dozens of tests, pulling, bending, stretching, just to understand how materials behave. Especially, many materials are not the same in every direction. Think of wood. It's easier to break along the grains than across it. This simple difference called anisotropy is the reason we need multiple tests to fully understand a material's behavior. Companies spend millions of dollars, tons of materials, and weeks of time on these tests, but they can't ignore testing. Why? Because of safety and efficiency. Without fully understanding materials, we end up having weaker cars, higher fuel costs, or even compromising passenger safety, which means it is not just a car maker's problem. It affects each of us. So what if we could get the same answers from one test instead of 10? That's exactly what my research does. I have developed a new method that uses artificial intelligence, or AI, to predict how materials behave. And the best part is, it only requires one physical test. Here is how it works. First, I chose a test called hole expansion test that combines pulling, stretching, and other deformations all in one test. It's like running 8 different experiments at once. Amazingly, this test creates a unique deformation pattern for each material, like a fingerprint. And these material fingerprints can reveal all the secrets of materials anisotropy. But there is one problem. We cannot understand these material fingerprints by ourselves. We need an expert to crack it. That's where the AI comes in. So I developed an AI that can decode these material fingerprints and tell us everything about its behavior and anisotropy. And it works. I have successfully tested this method on an aluminum alloy, and this could be applied to any other metals too. So for the car makers, this could save time and money while reducing the material waste up to 80%. And what does that mean for all of us? Cheaper, safer vehicles and greener future with less energy consumed and fewer resources wasted. In short, one test plus AI equals cheaper, faster, and a greener solution. Thank you.
How we doing? It's exciting, isn't it? At the semifinals, someone referred to this as a conference in 45 minutes, which is pretty great. So we're moving back in time. This is the second year we offered the 3MT competition. And one little funny note in there is that his partner, Megan Wingrove, also placed in the same competition, 2018. A little 1-2 punch there for the Wingroves. So we're kind of coming towards the end here. We're about to have our last presentation. So now's the time for you to be thinking about your vote when our last presentation is done. And we're going to see one more winner. You'll have that chance to vote. And also to be thinking about questions that you might want to pose to winners as the judges deliberate. We'll have a chance to kind of, as a group, talk a little bit during that period of time. And of course, to contemplate how much money you might want to give to 603 Challenge. And, we always joke about it, but, a $5, $6.03 gift is a meaningful gift during 603 Challenge. Every gift is a meaningful gift, and it's really the participation and the signal to the institution that you support this work. You find it really important. Ready to go? Okay. Here we come. Last presenter, Kaylee Parr, PhD in microbiology, 3MT title, Antibodies, Cancer, and the Missing Switch.
The biggest shock of my childhood was when I learned that cold medicine doesn't actually make you get better, it just manages the symptoms that come along with being sick. This led to a constant curiosity about what makes us sick, how we fight off illnesses, and how we actually do get better. Now, in graduate school, I'm studying the exact processes that allow our immune system to respond to the things that make us sick. You may have heard of antibodies, these Y-shaped molecules that stick out of your immune cells called B cells, like little hands, and recognize the things that shouldn't be there, from allergens to viruses to bacteria, and allow the immune system to realize there's a health threat and then get rid of it.
But what happens when these antibodies don't function in the way we expect them to? I'm Kaylee Parr, and I'm studying antibody production in healthy cells to then be able to understand their role in one of the biggest health threats, cancer. Immunoglobulin, or Ig, is another term for antibody, and there are different types of these Igs. When antibodies are first produced in response to a threat, they always start in the same form as IgM. Then, when they need to, depending on the nature of that threat, they undergo a switch, and their structure changes in order to facilitate the best response. If it's your seasonal allergies, they'll switch to IgE. If you have a cold virus, they'll switch to IgG. And say you have a stomach bug, they'll switch to IgA. This switch is critical for proper immune system function. In the cancer that I'm studying, Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia, or WM, this switch doesn't happen. These cancers' B cells only produce IgM in large quantities and no longer respond properly. Now, in order to understand how to fix something or prevent something from going wrong, you need to understand what has to go right in the first place. In order to understand how to fix this missing switch in cancer cells, we need to understand exactly how this process is occurring in healthy cells and what factors are controlling this process. One way to determine if something is critical for a certain function is to take it away and observe the effect. There are molecules present in these cancer cells that are also present in healthy cells, but they must be behaving differently in order to alter this switching process. We currently suspect one particular molecule, a protein called GLI2, to be involved in the alteration of this switching process. And I'm working to determine what happens to immune system function when we delete the GLI2 protein from healthy cells. I'm essentially picking apart these processes to figure out the intricate details to give us further insight into specifically WM, and then overall to generalize our findings to other immune disorders and cancers to find better treatments. So, unlike cold medicine, we don't just manage these patients' symptoms, but help them actually get better. Thank you.
So this is our last past winner slide, and unfortunately, we were going to have Leslie here in person to talk about her experience because she's local, but she had a sickness in her family and was not able to make it today. But there's a slide on her current work as an agricultural ecologist at the Nature Conservancy. And it kind of brings us to the end of our trip down memory lane. And so in terms of next steps, the judges are taking their notes on this last candidate, and they're going to recess and find a private space to go and discuss these incredible presentations we've just experienced. And while they do, we're going to pull up this slide, and you'll have about 5 minutes here that we'll leave for you to kind of deliberate, talk among yourselves, think about before you vote. It's important, of course, for fairness that each of you are voting once and only once, and I'm especially talking to the online folks once and only once. There's a QR code that will take you to a Qualtrics survey and ask you to give an email so we kind of know who each vote came from. So, if we get 800 votes, we know some people online are playing games. But unless there's 600 people online, which would be great to find out. But so yeah, you can use your phone and get this QR code. Vote for the presentations. You saw the criteria, but this is the People's Choice Award, right? So you're voting for the one that you really were impressed by and found to be great. So we give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then I'll circle back to you in a couple of minutes. Okay. So has everyone voted? Or are you still deliberating? It's a tough choice. I mean, the really, really, really good presentation, so hard to choose from among them. So we have a little time in here. We're going to get a chance to hear from Riverstone, and then we're going to have a chance to talk as a group. Couple of just quick reminders. We have a reception planned. It's not just outside as we've done it in the past, but it's actually down in the Stafford room. So if you haven't been in the MUB before, we'll have people to kind of direct you to where you need to go to get to the reception. We hope you'll come. At the end of the awards, when we give the awards, we'll take some photos, with the winners, and you're welcome to stay around for the photos, but you're also just welcome immediately to go down to the reception if you don't want to wait around for that. But please Yeah, there is food and drinks, and so please join us at the reception. I'll announce it again later because I know some people may have slipped out to the bathroom. So we're really delighted. Actually, take us to the next slide, and we're going to come back to this one in a second. Yeah, there we go. So we're delighted to be, well, I've talked about Riverstone multiple times, but it's really, really important for us that as a partner, they have been a real collaborator. They've been an entity that's come along and said, yeah, we really, like the values, we like what you're achieving with, the outcomes from your students. So we're very, very happy to have a new face. He's only been at Riverstone for 4 months, I think you said, yeah. So Senior Vice President Jonathan Yuknovic, I got it right that time, Chief People Officer of Riverstone, and he is going to do a 3-minute thesis on Riverstone. Oh, yeah. Do you want lapel or do you want
Okay. Hi. How we doing? I feel like I'm cheating because I'm going to use a prop, and the dean disappointed me when he showed the rules because I wanted to rap, and I saw that's against the rules. So apologies that I have to read off a script. I'm very much jealous of all of you who presented and had your stuff so memorized. But good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Yuknovic, and I am the Senior Vice President, Chief People Officer at Riverstone. We are a Fairfax company. For those of you who don't know Fairfax, Fairfax is one of the largest companies in the world, based out of Toronto, Canada, and it's an insurance conglomerate made up of 12 of the world's largest insurance companies. I'm going to talk a little bit about understanding what's unique about Riverstone, how we fit into the insurance ecosystem, and kind of talk about why insurance is important. As the dean mentioned, I've only been with Riverstone for 4 months. So I've been doing a lot of learning over the last 4 months and kind of drinking from the fire hose, trying to understand this industry because it is new to me, having come from hospitality previously. However, a lot of people think that insurance is boring, and part of it is. But at the end of the day, insurance makes the world go round. Without insurance, there would be no cars. There'd be no planes, there'd be no ships, and most importantly, there would be no homes in the state of Florida. Insurance is a way for people and businesses to protect themselves against potential risk and financial losses. It does this by spreading risks and pooling resources among individual policy holders. So where do we, Riverstone, fit into this? We're in a niche market in the insurance industry, and we manage runoff insurance. Runoff occurs when insurance companies decide to stop writing new policies for specific lines of business, but still have obligations under those policies that were written previously. Think of us as a retirement home for insurance policies. We take care of the policies and ensure that those policies continue to pay out as they're obligated to do so until there are no more claims to pay. So, how do we help the insurance industry? First, we transfer the financial risk to Riverstone and allow the policy writers, because Riverstone is not a policy writer, but our sister companies are, to meet their financial obligations with the states in which they operate or the countries in which they operate to write new premiums. We improve the balance sheet for the policy writing insurance companies, allowing them to grow their book of business, and we, in turn, are growing ours as well. It's like clearing out a little bit of attic space, if you think about it that way, for new things. Insurance companies, when they reach their threshold, can no longer write new policies until someone takes on their risk, and that's where we fit into the fold. So again, we do not write any new insurance policies, for those of you who might have an opinion about the insurance world. Finally, we have dedicated expertise that has been doing this type of work for over 20 years. Every insurance organization, such as Fairfax Financial, has a company similar to Riverstone that allows their other insurance writers to grow their books of business by having a company like Riverstone that takes on the liability from the others. It's like going to a grandmaster to learn how to play chess. So what skills does Riverstone need to perform their tasks? We have professionals in every industry you can think of, but primarily we need claims professionals, actuaries, accountants, lots of lawyers, IT, HR professionals, marketing folks. Data scientists is the area that we're growing the most right now. Risk management is obviously a huge part of what we do. We obviously have to look at the book of business that we might be requiring and analyze the risk versus reward. I know someone actually spoke on that today, so I found that extra fascinating because we have to make a determination on whether it's financially too risky for Riverstone to acquire that business and to pay out those claims over the remaining term. In total, we have over 425 employees now in over 39 states, or 39 states, not over, but 39 states as of today, and 4 countries. Prior to COVID, we were almost exclusively in the state of New Hampshire, but obviously COVID changed that, and now we're able to hire people from all over the planet, which is pretty awesome. So I would argue that to a degree, insurance is not boring. Part of it is, but most of it's not. It is an essential part. We are an essential part of the global economy. There are many different skills needed that are evolving with technology, AI especially in our industry. Riverstone likes to have fun at work. We have a lot of fun at work, and we've embraced the hybrid work environment. Most of our employees who live local to an office come in twice a week. Some of them don't like that, but twice a week at least we're able to collaborate and be together and celebrate. If you are interested in learning more about Riverstone, anything that we do, I'd be more than welcome to look us up online or come see me after this is over. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. 3MT is new to me. Matt Kunish, our Executive Vice President of Business Development, has been the one coming for the last several years. And he did a decent job explaining to me what the concept of this was. But having seen the presentations, I have to tell you, I'm pretty blown away. Extraordinarily impressed by all of your presentations today. And Riverstone, again, we are very happy to have been sponsoring this now for, I think you said 8 years. And we continue to look to grow that partnership as we move forward. So thank you all for your time today, and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
So it has been 8 years of a partnership, but we hope it's 8 more, and really happy that you got to come. And I thought we might start off. There are some other new 3MT, audience members, but first impressions. What impresses you about the 3MT and our students in particular? And feel free to lavish praise on them.
I mean. So you all exhibited an extreme level of confidence in your material today, which is pretty impressive. I mean, obviously, in my line of work, human resources, interviewing is what I spend a lot of time doing, or dealing with complicated conflicts in the office. And when someone can stand in front of me with a high level of confidence in what they're presenting or the case that they're making, it certainly wins you over. And again, you guys knew your stuff, and we're able. 3 minutes is pretty impressive. I honestly want to take it back to the office and teach my staff how to pitch me on things in 3 minutes or less. It would save me a lot of time.
Yeah, that's something we've heard from Riverstone through the years, and it's one of the sort of expansions of the collaboration that we're hoping to do is actually bring some of our students to Riverstone in the fall, some of our past winners and some of our current students, to kind of demonstrate the 3MT idea and kind of work with employees at Riverstone on cultivating that skill. I'm so glad you brought the confidence thing up, because one of the things we hear consistently about 3MT competition from the student perspective is that their desire to build confidence is why they did it, right? So this was hard-earned. It wasn't like they walked in the door and were ready to do it. It took them months. I'm glad you singled that out. That's really an important skill.
Yeah, public speaking is difficult. I'm also an introvert. I don't mind public speaking. I'm pretty comfortable. Nervous today because I had to read off a speech. But if you're able to master that and speak in front of a group of people, I think sky's the limit, regardless of what industry you're in.
Yeah. So that's 2 different things, and they're very important, right? The confidence might come from how smart you are and how confident you feel in your material, but the ability to kind of speak, off the cuff, especially, so important. Other thoughts you had, on the presentations? I don't want to put you on the spot, but anything else that you from your first 3MT experience that you want to share?
Yeah, I think there's a lot from this that like I mentioned, I want to bring back to my team and talk to them about it. I think that actually, personally, I think that I need to master some of my presentation skills. I just did a presentation to my peers yesterday, and it was 15 minutes long, and I think after 10 minutes, they were all asleep. So I think I really need to hone in, and the messaging that was said in a few of the videos about bringing the message down. All of the executive members of my company, and I'm sure it's every company, have a unique mindset. They're focused and they're experts in their particular function, and I might be talking at a level that they're not understanding and they're zoning out.
Yeah.
So bringing it down, I think, was referenced a few times, and making them bring it more to their level to understand it and grasp it more, I think is something that I'm going to take back. But again, I mean, overall, just I don't think there was one presentation that I wasn't sitting there in awe, fascinated by how well they did. So
yeah, wonderful. H.L. Mencken, the famous journalist, I don't know if people read him anymore, but I love him. He has this great saying, I didn't have time to write short. It actually takes more time in some ways to build up to being able to present the complex idea in a simple way. You have to have more mastery. And I think the one slide component is another one that I think a lot, death by PowerPoint is a real phenomenon, right? And especially in academic institutions. And the one slide bit is kind of impressive too, like distilling and thinking creatively about what that thing is going to accomplish that allows you to tie a bunch of ideas together.
yeah, it's the truth. I mean, I usually have 10 slides per presentation, so again, if I can shrink that down and make it more succinct and get the message across faster, I think I need to do it. Again, impressive. A lot of those slides really did tie in really well to what the presentation was.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. So we have a microphone. Are there other first-time attendees that want to kind of weigh in on what impressed them or what they enjoyed, or if you have a question for a particular presenter, something that occurred to you that you want to talk about? Can I give this to one of you to just get to if someone raises a hand? Oh, back at the back, Brad.
Just a comment to start with respect to the 3MT competition. What impresses me always is because I just have this appreciation of how much hard work and knowledge is embedded within what they're presenting. The fact that they're able to take it and condense it down, as we were just discussing, to a level that we can all understand, when really there's so much more behind that. So thank you all for that. As a mechanical engineer, I only caught a couple of them. So can I ask a question as well?
Sure, of course.
Nazar, I think is your name. So with respect to the road, and this is where I'm going to get geeky and kind of want to understand and think about it from the perspective of the roads. How long would it take for a road to be closed? I would appreciate it would probably depend on how much water is in the soil and the types of soil. But can you give an estimate of what would that look like?
Yeah, so it depends on the water runoff. Depends on the material of the soil, the permeability. For example, if the soil has high permeability or low permeability, also depends on the amount of water. And other stuff. But I have no exact number how long it might take. I'm still in the first part. And I will start working on the app, so I will discover how long it will take. Yeah.
Other questions or thoughts or comments? Be brave here. We have some time.
Hi, I'm Kim Sweetman from the library. I have not attended this event before. And I guess I'm just really impressed by the amazing research that's done on this campus and just the potential that it has to really make positive changes in the world. So I commend all of you and thank you for sharing that with us.
Hear, hear. Yeah. Hear, hear. And I'll just comment, I think what I love about this particular set, and it's really true almost every year at 3MT, is there's a walk away for every talk. There's an actionable thing that you can the talk allows you to see in your own space, something that you can do differently or think about differently or work with the local government if that be, the kind of thing you're interested in. I saw a hand at the back.
First of all, thank you so much for wonderful presentations, everyone. My question is for Mamta Kajal, and I think I have seen the strawberries. I know that the strawberries are they have nice fragrance. Can you explain the taste of them? What kind of taste they have, the new ones?
Sorry. Yeah, thank you for the question. So they taste more like mangoes
Really?
and guavas. Yeah, and even they smell like that. And if you guys want to check the strawberries, so I'm working at McFarlane Greenhouses. So you guys can always come over there and I'll be happy to show you around. There is also greenhouse open house where all the researchers get to gather and present their research, and it's open to everyone. So this time it's April 12th, I think 9 to 3, so everybody is welcome over there. Yeah. Oh yeah, so.
At the greenhouse? Sorry, yeah, the kiwi berries are not at the greenhouse. They're at the UNH Woodman Farm. So if you want to try those, you have to go to the Taste of Colsa event, which is normally held in October. But they really do taste just like a sweeter, fuzzy kiwi. And if you split them open, they look exactly the same, which is really nice.
I'm going to editorialize on the kiwi berry. I think they're amazing. I don't know. I went to the Taste of Colsa in October, and there were like 19 varieties, and all of them tasted different. I mean, it was really amazing. And here's a funny anecdote. My wife and I like to paddleboard, and we were out on the river one day, had a lovely trip, and we come back, we're putting our boards on, and someone had seen a T-shirt. I had a UNH T-shirt on, and then they walked right up to me and said, "Tell me about kiwi berries." And I said, "Well, I don't know the first thing about kiwi berries, but I had just gone to Taste of Colsa." And so I said, "Well, I can put you in touch with the person who does it." But this person had some volunteer kiwi berries in their yard, and they wanted consultation on it, right? So it's just another great example of like, here's this impact that the research has, and it's out there in the community, and people can really enjoy it. Are our judges ready to come in? Okay, great. So as the judges file back in, we'll kind of return to the slide and talk a little bit about, well, again, if you haven't been yet on the 603 challenge page, this QR code takes you straight to that. It should pre-populate with 3-minute thesis as one of the areas to donate, and I really hope you will. 603 means a lot. $6.03, $60.03 means a lot. $600.03 means a whole lot. Any combination of those letters, I think many of you know in the 603 challenge, at the end of it, ends up in unlocking some matching funds. But we also part of the reason why I keep stressing it is it's the 10th anniversary, and we really, really treasure this program. And it's sponsorship agreements like the ones we have with Riverstone and these donations that keep that lifeblood going, gives our students some incentives to participate. Each of them get a stipend to participate. And then, of course, we have these awards. And so further gifts and growing that would allow us to raise the awards and increase the participation and potentially expand the competition, allow more students to be involved, which is something that would be really exciting because we do get, again, 60 to 70 applications each year of folks who want to compete. We have our judges back, but I do want to just let that sit in the room in case you haven't gone and hit the QR code. You do have it also on your program, and you can take it home and consult with your spouse about how to find that $6.03 to donate. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming and supporting this event. I mean, it means a lot to the graduate school that we come together as a community around 3MT. And now the judges are settled. Really, really big round of applause for our judges. They bring expertise and insight, and they put their time and effort in. And as you heard, several of them have been with us for years. Elizabeth will be with us for years, and I hope Anna will keep coming back. But Jamie, Beth, Karen, thank you so much. And Ivo, I think you're going to come present.
All right, first, thank you to the presenters. You did an amazing job, and we really enjoyed your presentations and all the cool information that you shared with us and entertaining us. That was great. So everybody did really well, and we're very impressed. We had the hard task to select the top three presenters. So I'll go straight to that. I'll announce number 3 first. So in third place, we have Sebastian Rowan. very interesting slide, I have to say. In second place, we have Kaylee Parr. I'm hopeful for the future of humanity and hopefully dealing with some serious diseases effectively. So thank you for the work you're doing. And then in first place, we have, any guesses? Mamta Kajal with Terry the Berry. So next time you see it in the store, you know it's made at UNH. All right, with that, I'm going to mention just a couple of general feedback comments, and then I'll pass the microphone to Yoka to announce the People's Choice Award. And generally, again, presentations were great. We saw a lot of improvement, especially comparing to the semifinals. We saw significant improvement, and we're very happy with what we saw. The slides were better. The presentations overall were better. So we're just very happy. I guess that's it. Unless the judges want to add anything else. Yeah. All right. And now Yoka.
Okay, well, thank you to the judges for giving me this honor to announce the People's Choice Award. Before I do that, I'm going to give you just a little bit more anticipation and really thank all the students, all the presenters for amazing work that they did. You got to see the finalists. We had a much larger group. All of them did amazing work, and I feel incredibly proud of all of you. Thank you so much for taking part in this competition. I love working with each one of you, helping you develop these skills, but it's you who did the work. I was there to help, but it's you who did the work. And I hope you enjoy owning this, and I'm looking forward to seeing you what you're going to do with it in the future. So, we get to the part to announce the People's Choice. Thank you all for voting in person and online. We have something we've had in the past. One of these three people got to win the People's Choice as well. So without further ado, Mamta Kajal, congratulations on People's Choice.
So anyway, that wraps it up. Thank you so much for coming. Reception is in the Stafford room. So again, if you don't know where that is, find one of us or my staff, or folks will be hanging out just outside the door to kind of show you that direction. Drinks and snacks, and we'll see you down there.